Welcome back, guys and girls. This is Shawn Xavien alongside the storyteller, and this is Hot Takes, where we give our take on whatever we deem is hot. A Hot Seat Podcast Plus exclusive. And this edition, we're going to continue our rabbit hole of a journey with Daredevil Born Again, the Disney Plus series that has been brought over from the cult followed Netflix show, which has been great so far. In this episode, we're actually going to do episode 7 and 8 recap of everything that's going on. So we're going to jump right into it. I know we ended off on episode 6. We had a very, very unique and very exciting end where you had Daredevil facing off against Muse, and then you had Fisk beating the brakes off of Adam. And that's how that went, to say the least. And this whole thing that we both talked about is the fact that we've been seeing more of Matt Murdock than we saw of Daredevil, and it's been showing you the layers and like that other person that is Matt Murdock. Goes to the point, the person really, I guess you want to call it, the person really wearing the mask is Matt Murdock compared to Daredevil. And we roll it right into episode 7, where you can see that Matt is back to his regular self. We get some feistiness going on. Him and Vanessa, link up. But then you start to see his um his two lives starting to clash, where you got Vanessa questioning him, the bruises and stuff like that. And her being a therapist, you see how this conversation is going. And then on the other side, you got Fisk and his two worlds colliding, him being a politician and, a former but still gangster. Um, Although his seems to be going a lot more easier than what is happening with Murdoch. So, how do you take about how this opened up, man? How we transition from one to one? How do you liking the pacing between episode to episode, especially
It's
coming off of, with the hype?
my fault. You just paused on my side. So, but if you can hear me now,
Okay, yeah, I got you.
okay. So we might have a little
I
bit of a
yeah.
delay. Um, but number one, I don't know if you were talking about the right person in the beginning because you said Vanessa, the therapist, and isn't Vanessa
Yeah, did I say
Kingpin's
Vanessa?
wife?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, right. You're
Yeah,
right. You're right. I'm sorry.
yeah.
I said
I
Vanessa the
had to go
therapist, right?
look
Yeah.
myself. I was like, wait a minute, ain't
I'm
Vanessa?
sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm trying
Not
to remember the
Vanessa the
therapist's name
therapist.
now. I'm trying to think of the therapist's name now, but yeah, the therapist is who was with Matt Murdock. So
Yes.
Vanessa is Kingpin's wife, and what
Right.
you're kind of, it's funny how you
Heather.
just asked that
Heather.
question.
Heather.
Okay,
Heather. There you go,
it's
Heather.
funny how you just asked that question to me about like pacing and things like that and how it's
Yeah.
going. Because I have to say, and you'll see on my grade of this episode for episode 7, this is the first one that I felt a little bit off. Not so much in a bad way. Not so much where I'm looking at, I'm like, oh, yeah, I could have done without this episode because I love
Right.
the episode. But this is the first one that I honestly sat back and I was like, man, I wish they would have just took a little bit more time. I
Okay.
kind of see why this was supposed to be so many episodes in the beginning when it was first
Yeah.
being put
Yeah.
together,
Right.
because now I feel like we're rushing to episode 9 with some of these characters and what ultimately happened with Muse, because he could have
Yeah.
lasted a whole lot longer. I think there should have been a whole lot more therapy sessions that build up to it instead of the first time really them two getting together and being in the room and then boom, you know what happens. While it was an awesome scene, this was the first one
Yeah.
that I sat back and I was like, man, this seems like, do they know a season 2 is coming? Or did they feel like they just needed to
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I just really felt like it could have built up a whole lot more than where they ended it at. With White Tiger, we already discussed why that had to come to an end. those
Right.
understood why that felt rough.
They,
But this
yeah,
one,
they did.
yeah, this one caught me kind of off guard. I thought there would be a little bit more build up, especially of the character Muse, because it was so interesting to me. It was a
Right.
different take. We haven't seen a character like that, so volatile in that type of way. And I mean, when you just think about somebody, uh, painting up and doing murals on walls of people's blood, like that's a different type of villain. Like, and the fact that you have a therapist there and he's meeting with the therapist, you know how big you could have gotten within those therapy sessions, episode to episode.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and that's what I think they missed on, just to me. But ultimately a very good episode. But that was one of the first things that I picked up. I don't know how you felt.
No, same. This is the one where I'll take it even back even further. I guess he is a detective, a former detective Cherry. He gets into a bit of a confrontation with Matt about the fact that Matt went after Muse. And to be perfectly honest, like we don't even get a backstory on what Cherry really is outside of him being a cop. Besides that, there's no backstory to him at all. So he's just kind of in there. He's kind of in and out of episodes. He's kind of playing as like the private eye of Matt. And then to your point, Muse, I don't know if you caught this when he's talking to Heather, got her name right, and the fact that he had took Taekwondo. And if I'm
Yep.
correct, I believe he said he took it for like 3 months or something like that.
Yeah, because he
And
killed the guy teaching him.
yeah, so 3 months now, unless he is like super, super fast paced, intelligent, and everything else. We saw him go back and forth with Daredevil, who has training on training and was giving him all he could handle. So, to your point, feel like that might have been rushed that into it. Um, and then the Fisk character still
Mhm.
been doing well. Still been doing well. You can see his disdain for the vigilantes, and you can really see, and I'll see if you catch this. He really is trying his best to take over New York by his own volition and
Hmm,
making sure he's doing a lot of grimy things along the way,
hmm,
which kind
interesting.
of plays into what's happening a little bit in the day's time. So yeah, he has a past and everything. Um, but all in all, what you are seeing, and it takes us back to the first scene, um, the both of them, Fisk and Matt, sitting at that diner table.
Mhm.
And that is a bit of foreshadowing to what this go. They're pretty much mirror images of each other. They really are. Their
Yeah.
two worlds are colliding. Um, they're trying not to go back down that path, but they both been forced into it. And they both are waiting for the other one to make their move. They're trying to prove to everybody else that that other one is the bad guy. And this is what you kind of see. So much so in 7, you see where Heather finds her, and that was a really I thought I saw that coming with her being the therapist of Muse, but they kind of did throw it in there, and then ultimately her about to meet her demise, and Daredevil shows up.
Yeah.
Crazy fight. He dies, and Fisk makes sure the task force takes credit
It's the
for it.
credit.
Yeah,
Mhm.
which is interesting how they're going to spin that. I'll see what they're doing because it's video cameras, but it's interesting how they're going to try to spin that. Um, Let me see if you catch this though. What's your take about? And I don't even get his name, but he was promoted to the deputy mayor. I forget the young man's character name. He's like the, I guess you want to call, he's like the fanboy of Fisk. How do you feel about his character playing out, especially with his relationship that he has with BB?
Oh,
The
that one.
guy.
Okay, I
Yeah,
didn't know who you were talking about for a
the
second.
social media
Yeah,
guy. That,
the
how do you feel
communications
about
guy.
How do you feel about how they're you know how that's going so far?
Um, well, that kind of leads into episode 8 in a way. But
Yeah.
yeah, with him, I think it was interesting because once you see, you're gonna have me straight into episode 8. Once you
I'll bring it back.
see what that relationship is with BB
Yeah,
and how that's going to play, and that's
yeah,
something that I think is a slow burner, which they did correct
okay.
on the fact of where that's gonna go in season 2. Um, he's a very interesting character. I'm gonna tell you, he gives me a feel of Penguin.
He does, right? He
He
does.
gives me a
Yeah.
feel of Penguin, a person that's doing a lot of different things in the background. Nobody really seeing how conniving he is, and he just
Not
wants
res-
that acceptance,
yeah, he's not
in a
respected.
certain type.
Yeah,
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 he's just a
yeah,
guy playing a role, but he's doing some big things that are causing motion.
yeah,
He gives me an upbringing of Penguin in a way. But people got to know that kind of backstory. Definitely go back and
yeah.
watch
Watch Penguin.
the
Yeah,
Penguin
yeah,
series. But yeah, that's the feel I get from him. So
yeah,
once again, what we were just talking about in the beginning, some things need a slow burn, a slow simmer. You're gonna love this. A
yeah,
slow smoke. You can't rush it. You can't rush it. You
yeah,
gotta let it sit. I know
yeah.
the temperature seems like it's not hot enough, but trust me, 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours later, you got heaven in front
If
of
you
you.
know, you know,
And it's
guys. If you know, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's magic. It's magic. You wake up in the morning and you go to sleep and you're like, yes, this is it. That's what they need to do with certain characters.
Speaking of
Some of them don't need to
relationships,
be that fast, and that's how I felt about the Muse thing that
yeah,
threw me off. And
yeah,
now with the character you're talking about, I think they're doing that right. So,
yeah. Speaking of relationships and background, so we close out episode 7 with Fisk sitting in a diner eating, and you see after a communication between Vanessa, his lady, and Luca, um, the guy who's still in the street, you see that it's interesting. A phone call was made to Luca to let him know the whereabouts of where Fisk was.
mhm,
Luca pulling up on him in like one of the most used, I feel like, cameos in all of the older gangster films. And he's going
mhm.
to pretty much go in and all Fisk, only to be taken out by his man's in the corner with the with the silencer on him. It was just so dope. And then he ends that with, ask Vanessa, would she like me to pick her up some? I forgot the meal. Um, and it has you asking a lot of questions at that point. Is she
Mhm.
pulling the strings? Did she just try to have her husband killed? Um, what was your, before we go into episode 8, what was your take on it? What did you feel about that? Did you feel like she was the one that did? It's interesting because they left it wide open.
No, I think I think she definitely set old boy up, the guy Luca up, to
Gotcha.
be in there and get
Yeah.
shot. But I think she's also at a point which, once again, you're gonna see in episode 8 and see, I think, more of in episode 9, that don't think she's just playing a side role to him, because
Right.
she is fully in.
Yeah.
This is her baby now.
Yeah.
You know, didn't understand it before, sitting back on you know, I see what he's out there doing, then to be left with it, and
Yeah.
now people loving it and it ran so smoothly, and then a person stepped back in, not fully, but they're in the area, and now everybody's like, hey, nah, I like the way that you were doing things. That power,
Yeah.
that power is
Yeah.
what gets you. So I think, once again, since we're going this way on this episode here, slow burn.
Yeah.
Slowly
Yeah.
walk
Yeah.
it. Slowly walk it. I like how they're building up her character.
I do. And that takes us directly into episode 8. Heather, she, is traumatized.
Question,
Answer.
question. Since we're doing 2 episodes, are we gonna do our rating on this one right now?
We can, and
Okay.
I will give this one, based off everything we're talking about from the character development and everything else, a little bit of a rush on it. I want to go, and this may be a little low because I don't have a half mark, but for this particular episode, I'm going to give it a 2 flames.
Okay. All right. For me, I am going to add one more flame on there. I'm going to give it 3. Like I said, as a series as a whole, it's doing very well. But I walked away from this one sitting back going, man, did they really have to do that right then? That's how I kind of felt within that episode, especially with the Muse character. So, yep, still give it 3 though.
Fair. Got it there. Episode 8. So, again, we lose Muse, and hopefully this is unfortunately on one part of Marvel that we both can agree on. There's been a lot of throwaway-ish characters, some characters that we probably loved at the beginning, and then before you knew it, we blinked and they were gone. I think this by far, Muse has been the most intriguing. It's been the most vicious one outside of Fisk himself, like that second tier character or antagonist. And he was kind of pushed out in this case, especially considering that they can't use with so many vigilantes, and we know that's the whole, rights thing and stuff like that. We don't even have to talk about, Spider-Man and those guys. But it takes us into episode 8. Heather, Matt's girlfriend, she was, of course, almost killed. Damn near killed because she was stabbed. And she realizes that Daredevil or somebody else was in the room. She believes it was Daredevil. We got the spin that the task force is doing on her. They do their press conference. They got Muse's mask up and they're putting it out, even though people saw what they saw. And then we see back the re-entry of Poindexter's character, Bullseye. After not seeing him, for a little bit, they move in the general pop.
Shout out to Bullseye.
Yes, absolutely. And some questions need to be answered. Where you want to start in this? There's a lot happening in this episode.
There's a lot going on in this episode.
Yeah.
Let me just say this, and this is going to cover the whole episode to me. Was this the finale at one point? Because that's what it felt like.
It did.
This was a cliffhanger episode.
Yes.
I had to go check and go look at episodes like, was this ending at 8 or 9? Because this seems over. Like you're about to wait a good amount of time before this comes back on. Right. That's how good and how much of a cliffhanger they left us with this episode. But to go back to the beginning of it, that Bullseye vendetta, that build up and the storyline between what I loved about this in the very beginning, when you have Heather talking to Matt, and then you have Kingpin. I believe he was talking with Vanessa at that time, was he?
Right.
And then
yes, yeah.
So, and they're talking back and forth, but kind of building up the same thing between each other. And, she gets that invite, and that was it right there. That was it right there. Because you knew it was coming at one point, but she didn't only get the invite. Remember, she was at his house.
Yes.
And he's like, yo, wait a minute. What?
I was waiting for how they're going to introduce for sure.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, I don't know if you caught her saying, she's taken to the joint like, well, I saved myself basically, and this is the joint. I'm just like,
yeah,
okay, all right, that's where we're going with it. Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting storyline to play into season 2, because you can now see he can't fully be himself and still have her there. There's going to be too many questions that are asked, especially for what she does for a living. Exactly. Can she keep her mouth shut? Around his crew, like Foggy and everybody, he knew he could be himself because they were their own. But it's very hard to find somebody within that realm that you can be personal with. And I think it's going to be too hard for him to be Matt and Daredevil and have her in the life. But that invite was something.
to your point, and this goes to the point that that slow burn is something that they might be missing a little bit, because we saw in the first couple of seasons. Now this is only season one of them kind of like not rebooting it, but the second iteration of Daredevil. You know, him, Karen, Foggy. It really what I felt like one, and correct me, I feel like those episodes were a little bit longer as well. They were a little bit more fleshed out. So now you felt like you got to know the characters. Right now, Heather, she's brand new. Got it. We learned a little bit, but now she's
Yeah.
there. She's full on in it. So that one, and then you got the new, even the I don't even know the other his partner. I forget her name. She shows up every once in a while at the at the law office where he is, and she's
And
just
where is Karen?
well, Karen's gone. Yeah, Karen's gone.
No,
I think she's gone.
I got you, but
Yeah,
when you build it up like you brought these characters back, they weren't in the original
right.
storyline, and then you got all that stuff on you. Like everybody's like, wait a minute, how in the world you don't have Foggy and Karen in there? And then Foggy gets killed in the first joint, and then Karen's reaction to it, she's pretty much gone. And I'm like, so that's what you gave us?
Yep.
Like,
and then they got here's a new partner, and then we barely see her, and we only see his new partner in like two places, the office, and I think we saw them at the bar at the beginning when before Foggy got killed. That's it. She has no other place in that. And then you see Cherry, and he's there. So it's like they aren't fleshing out this new group that well. What we did find out is Adam didn't die. I was dead ass thought Adam was dead. Like when I see him still alive, first of all, I don't know. They call it Stockholm. What's that? Stockholm syndrome? And what that is if you look it up, Stockholm is a person that they pretty much stuck. They're in a really bad, brutal relationship, and they feel like they have to stay there, like they can't leave. I'm feeling part of that from Vanessa. I know she's in the streets and stuff like that, but when he takes her downstairs and shows her where Adam is, and they walk past that blood stain on the wall that he didn't even clean up, and it's like well lit, and she sees Adam, and she has this like oh shit type look in her face, and then she does what she does and pulls out the joint. And was she just like embracing what he is, or is there a level of fear in him, like he's not gonna let me go type situation?
I don't think it was fear. I think it was kind of the opposite.
Okay.
I think it was a slow build up to, oh, he's not gone.
Okay.
He's here. Kingpin, I'm saying.
Gotcha.
Oh, wait a minute. I haven't lost him, because she felt she lost him and she was going to carry everything herself. Yeah. But I think she was more, let me just say it bluntly. I think she was more turned on by it.
Yeah.
To be very honest with you. She's looking back at Adam. She's looking at him. It's like, damn, this is what you've been doing? This why your ass getting fat? You've been down here eating. Because you definitely ain't getting fat off the food I'm seeing you eat. So this what you down there doing? Oh, my baby back.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
That's what I kind of got from it. So
fair.
I don't feel like she's stuck, because she likes that life. She embraces that life right now.
Yeah.
But she thought she was carrying that life by herself. Remember, she was arguing with him about the whole mayor position.
True.
She's like, no, I need you to be in this. And if you ain't in this, then I don't know. That was the separation. I don't know if I want to be here, because I love that.
Fair.
Not what you trying to do. I don't even understand this.
I agree. I was trying to see what I saw.
So when she came down there, and she could see him still alive and the way he's living and what he's been doing all this time, I think it was like, oh,
yeah,
you ain't gone. And then realize Adam was just a space filler. Ain't no love there, nothing. You know what I mean? Ain't none of that.
There was a sneaky link. Yeah. Yeah, there's a sneaky link. That's all it was.
That's it.
It's interesting, because you go back to, he's at his awards dinner or whatever that is, his big benefit, and he's pulling these folks into the which I think is the hardest thing.
Yep.
He's pulling
Yep.
he's pulling the swordsman, which he lets him know he knows who he is. He's pulling him into the room and pretty much saying, "Hey, I do have your support." And they're like, "No, who?" And then it's the same. It was reminiscent of the Dark Knight Rises when you got to the scene and after they had robbed the bank, and then I forgot what
You
the
wanted to say
character
this.
says.
I
Yeah,
know why you wanted to say that, but go ahead.
because he says to him, he's like, "I've paid you a ton of money." And Bane said to him, "And you think that gives you power over me?" And he puts his hand on his shoulder. He said, "Do you feel in control?" That's what I feel like Fist was doing. Like, do you literally feel in control of what I'm at? I'm not asking you. I'm telling you in a very polite way before I like break you in half that you're going to support me financially, so forth.
This party scene,
Yeah.
this fundraiser,
Yeah.
was written and shot perfectly.
Yes.
Perfectly. That whole
Yes.
party and the interactions all the
Yes.
way to the end shot perfectly. You can't do any better. You can't do any better. You couldn't have told me that wasn't a scene from a movie. That's what it was. Hands down.
Yes.
I was not watching a series on Disney Plus.
Yes. It's and all in that shot, which how it ends. But fast forwarding, well, rewind it back a little bit. Matt visits Poindexter and General Pop. He's trying to find out there. And we find out some information of what happened. And he kind of broke. And I like what they did as far as how he allowed, against spoilers, help Bullseye actually get out of jail, which leads us into who put that hit on Foggy, bro. Like, I think we know.
Yeah, we know.
It's pretty evident.
Yeah, it
Now
came
the
out at the
reason,
end.
yeah. Now I guess the better question is why. That's the question.
Well, they started leading to that towards the end.
Yeah.
Now, let me do this first before we deep dive into different scenarios. That scene with Bullseye with the two
Yes.
and that whole man.
Yes.
And I think that's a story that was told in the comic books too.
Yeah.
If I'm not
Exactly.
mistaken.
Exactly. Just like that. Yep.
So, but now I'm gonna get back into what I was saying as far as that whole fundraising scene, and then we'll get to that question real quick because I know we're running on time. Think about these storylines real quick at this fundraiser. You got Kingpin, you got Fist, you got Matt Murdock, okay, you got Heather looking over at Vanessa, and Vanessa looking at everything that's going on. You got the different people interacting, going inside the room, while Matt Murdock is supposed to be apologizing for the fact that how he acted towards Heather.
Yep.
Heather and not paying attention to her. Meanwhile, he's not paying attention to her because he's listening in on what's going on in the room.
And you got the commissioner.
Whoever's in there.
The commissioner talking to BB. Telling him,
Hold on.
telling him about the
We're getting there. We're
crazy.
getting there. So all that's going on. You have BB break character.
Yeah.
And tell you what's really going on with her. And she knows the hidden secret the whole time. She's just trying to build up everything and get close. And that's where our little penguin friend comes in. And that's how she's going to use that. Meanwhile, the commissioner's impressed, but also scared for his life because he just saw what happened in the kitchen area or whatever area that was back there with the gentleman.
Exactly.
So all this is going on. Man, a lot of stuff is going on. And then you add Bullseye to the mix. And that's why I said it was masterful. Because you had a whole movie within that scene, that piece of storytelling. And then you get to the point where Heather's trying to figure out what's going on. Why is Matt acting this way? Fisk is talking to Matt without talking to Matt because he can hear and he knows he can hear, so he's saying what he needs to say. And this is the first time that you start to see Vanessa a little bit shook, like, oh shit, there's something that Fist doesn't know, and Daredevil's right there. And then when all that is going on, tell me, because I know you noticed it and I know you loved it. When they show Bullseye up there in the top, and then the music starts to play, and then you see the scene, the shot, slim down in the widescreen. I said,
Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. For sure.
It was it. That's why I felt it was the finale.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you going to do after this? You going to do something for one more episode after this? I don't know what you're going to do after this.
I don't know. I'm excited to see, because it's going to take, because again, you're not going to see this until season 2 in 2026. So we got a good year to wait.
Yeah.
And how they end this one, mind you, we have Thunderbolts coming up. And what happens? Because something has, we know, if you read the comics, we know at some point the Thunderbolts and Fisk are a thing. So we're going to figure, are we going to get something? I don't know. It can take you down that rabbit hole. But all that being said, this is so far has been one of the best episodes outside of the first one, absolutely. Yeah, and then when we introduced, so episode 8, I mean, I think it's easy to say.
Just leave it up.
Yeah.
That's for
4 flames.
Yeah.
4 flames.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 4 flames. And
yeah, I just don't know what they're gonna do afterwards. It was the ultimate cliffhanger.
It is.
You know, we're spoiling, so yeah, Daredevil gets shot. Matt Murdock, though. Matt Murdock gets shot. There you go.
Right. Which that in itself is going to be so interesting, because he's protecting Fisk from getting hit.
Yep.
Which is going to make this whole thing even more interesting, to say the least. So we're going to be back for another episode to wrap this thing up. This is Hot Takes, Hot Seat Podcast Plus exclusive. He's the storyteller. I'm Shawn Xavien. We'll see you guys next time. Appreciate you guys for subscribing, and enjoy Daredevil Born Again.
Let's go, Masters.
Finale coming up. Yes, Masters.